$5,000.
It's a little more than that.
How much more?
$8,000.
Whew, that's a lot of thousands of dollars.
$8,000 more.
What?
It's $13,000.
Oh my God. That is.
Isn't that inconceivable?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
In the Midwest, you know the best is there waiting, so come and join the conversation. Eyes to approved, fan and artist and creator too. This is how the challengers do. What? Keep the conversation moving along. Keep reading comics, keep your local store strong. If it's hard, then it's a job for the challengers. Comics and conversation, y'all.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers, a comics industry business podcast with
Patrick Brower.
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 And
W. Dow Bush.
W. Dow Bush.
Dal Bush.
Del Bush.
Dow.
Del.
W. Del Bush.
Welcome back to another scintillating episode of Contest of Challengers. I was welcoming you.
I'm too busy being scintillated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm also scintillated because I got a lot of the air freshener that I was changing on my fingers.
Okay.
Which you might ask, how do you do that? It's in a glass container. I can do things, Dal.
I believe you can. That's good audio content.
I know what things are. Well, this one is presented in smell-o-vision. We're just trying to give a full
I
atmosphere
don't believe it is.
of how this podcast smells. In case you were wondering, it smells like
nobody was.
crisp linen.
Okay.
I guarantee you we will have at least one person say, you know what? I was wondering.
They'll say that now.
That's true. We'll never be able to know.
No.
Yeah. What can you do? What can you do about it? What do you think your favorite podcast smells like?
I don't listen to any podcasts.
I thought you listened to Transformers once.
No, not in a long time.
So like grease and oil and
Yeah, sure.
oil sandwiches.
Sure.
What do you think Energon smells like?
Cotton candy. That's why it's pink.
That was a quick answer. You've thought of this before.
No, it's pink, so it smells like cotton candy. That's what pink smells like.
Singer?
Yeah.
That's great.
I guess. I mean, you might get sick of it.
I mean, when you get sick of anything.
Yeah, basically. Well,
Like-
especially like candy smells and stuff. We were talking about air fresheners. There was a brief period where I thought for the holidays, like, oh, I'll get this cool like vanilla and it was like basically like freshly baked cookie smell. I'm like, that sounds great. I had those in for under an hour, and I'm like, I can't do this. like baking cookies smells amazing, but you don't want that around you 24/7. Like, it becomes oppressive. You get too hungry, or it starts to give you a headache, or it's not an all the time smell. So I switched back to apple cinnamon, which is a good kind of all the time smell.
Well, to tie this back to the store, you had changed out the air fresheners on Tuesday, but the one right at the front counter was set to maximum.
Okay.
And I was about to pull the Diamond Club, and it was way too strong for me. I'm like, this is going to make me sick.
Sure.
It's too much of a good thing.
I can see that.
But even today, we got compliments on the way the store smells.
It's just a simple thing. I'm surprised that more stores don't do it. Maybe they have a reason for not doing it, but it just seems like a very small expense to keep the store from smelling like mountains of paper, which, there's people who they find that a nostalgic smell. I know there's people who love the idea of like, ooh, all these mildewy back issue boxes. I love digging through them. I love the smell of it. And it's like, most people don't. Most people, they walk in on that and they're like, ugh, like they find it unappealing. So why not give it a more appealing smell?
When I was a youngster, my grandparents on my dad's side, their attic, they had a full walk-up attic.
Neat.
It was a library.
That's very cool.
It was just rows and rows of bookshelves up there, all these books. And
I'd worry it would collapse into the second floor, but
it had this detritus smell to it.
Yep.
I'm sorry, this not detritus. It had this Excelsior smell.
Okay.
And when I walk into some used bookshops now, even to this day, brings me right back to that attic.
Sure.
67 Madison Avenue. Wait, was that Marvel? No, Marvel was 75 Madison Avenue. The different Madisons, different cities.
Okay. Yes.
But still, same name. 76? 67. Yeah, 67 Madison. I wonder if the people who bought that house kept all the books. I'll have to check.
I doubt
No,
it.
I'm pretty sure it was my dad who was responsible for getting all those books out.
Yeah, I doubt
Uh,
it. Most people want an
time
empty
came.
house. They don't want an attic full of someone else's books.
Tell that to the ghosts. Do you think they heard you?
Sure.
I assume it was telepathically because you don't just talk to ghosts.
Nope, I definitely don't.
That's fair. Speaking of things that you don't talk to or talk about, we're gonna mention this and then quickly move on. We're not gonna dwell on it, but it is a sales statistic, and it is a Challenger's record, a record we never wanted to break. We are recording this in March. It is March now.
It is March 1st.
So that means February numbers have been calculated.
Yep. All 29 days of it.
And that's right. So keep that in mind. There was an extra day in February
whole
this year.
extra day that we didn't have the last 3 years.
Now, if you want to compare, and let me just tell you right now, you don't.
I don't.
February of 2023 to February of 2024, it's obvious from anyone who listens to this podcast that there will have been a drop.
A little bit of a drop.
Would you hazard a guess as to the number that drop is? Not a percentage, an actual dollar amount.
$5,000.
It's a little more than that.
How much more?
$8,000.
Whew. That's a lot of thousands of dollars.
$8,000 more.
What?
It's $13,000.
Oh my God. That is.
Isn't that inconceivable?
Oh my God. Oh my God.
We've never had a month.
Oh my God.
Not even some pandemic months weren't even that big of a drop.
Oh Jesus.
Yeah.
Wow. And you still opened up today.
I have to.
I don't know that you do anymore.
We need to start March strong.
I don't know. I don't think that's possible. I think that is the final nail in the coffin. Jesus Christ.
Now, I debated not telling you, but the information is readily available to
Yeah,
you.
I'd find out at some point.
You'd see it.
I mean, we knew the sale was down from last year, and overall, there have been weeks where it's just like, holy shit, I can't believe we have a week this slow at the end of our 16th year, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I can't believe we're this far into being an ongoing business, quote unquote, and like sales are this bad. And it's like, holy shit, they're even worse than I thought they were. Like, wow, that is a monumental drop. That is like an entire week and a half not being there. And we had an extra day. Amazing.
That extra day could have done so much work for us.
Amazing. Wow.
As I was
holy shit
adding the numbers up, I thought, oh, it's not as bad as I thought it was. And I'm like, wait, I did math in my head and it was way worse than this. Why is it different? Let me double check. Oh, there was a week where I somehow set the date range wrong.
Oh.
So it was more than just a 7-day total. It was higher.
Yeah.
So.
Wow.
And I triple checked those numbers. I'm like, is this possible? How is this possible? But you know what's amazing to me? And this is honestly a positive part of it.
Okay.
Everything we're able to accomplish in February with that much less money?
I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's...
Maybe I shouldn't have started the podcast with this.
No, it's fine. I mean, again, it's not a secret. It's
right.
On February 28th, I was so bored. I was so unbelievably bored because it's just like there's just less people coming in and there's less to do. And there's been so many days that you and I have worked together where I've thought, why are there 2 people here right now? What in the world did we need 2 people for? How many Wednesdays were around 5:30, 6 o'clock? It's like we could close right now and we would not notice a drop in business. Like we are literally just going to be sitting around in an empty store for the next 45 minutes to an hour and a half. And it's like that wasn't a problem 6 years ago. And yet it's suddenly a problem now. Like that's a terrifying thing to not only be like a lot of stores and comic shops are dealing with a sort of reorientation from the pandemic era where things were super busy and people were working from home and everyone seemed like they had extra money to spend and they were spending it on collectibles and objects instead of experiences. And that's all flipped around now and people are spending the other way and they're all going back to the office. and there's less money in their bank accounts and blah, blah, blah. But to then have it be a thing where it's like, no, we're not even like getting back to what 2019 was. We're way worse than 2019 was.
Well,
how is that happening?
It's funny you say that.
It is
because
funny. I'm
we
laughing
are
a lot.
technically on par with 2019.
Yeah, but
it's only 2 months in. But that's the number we're at.
Yeah, that's it. It doesn't feel like that's going to be the steady level, though.
Well, look, I guarantee you,
Mm-hmm.
March of 2024 is at least going to beat March 2020.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, our January and February didn't.
You don't know that. Fingers crossed.
I did guarantee it. So
yes,
I'm on the hook for this if it goes the other way.
Going off of that, let's talk about something related to our business and sales and profitability and things of that nature. Are you okay with that?
Yeah.
Let's talk about our rewards program.
Okay.
About a year ago, coming up on a year, we switched over from a flat 10% discount on pre-ordered items to a overall discount for anything people bought in the store or online if they were in our rewards program. And after some slight tweaking, where we landed on is basically you earn 5 points for every dollar spent?
5 points for every dollar spent, yeah.
5 points for every dollar spent, and they can be redeemed in increments of 500 points for $5 off, 1,000 points for $10 off, and so on and so forth. The hope with that was two things. One, by making it something that anyone could take part in, we would hopefully, since it's a loyalty program, increase the loyalty of people who are shopping more casually. They'd come in more often, they'd buy more stuff. They'd be saving money the more they spent, so obviously they would be incentivized to come in more often, buy more books, et cetera, et cetera. So that was one thing. The other thing was giving away a flat 10% discount on pre-ordered items for all of our subscribers was really bad business. We literally could not afford to keep giving away 10% off the top of anything somebody pre-ordered. So by changing around how the program worked, making it something where people had to actively decide to use their points, and also the points equated to not the same discount. While they were getting it off of everything, they weren't getting 10% off of everything they were pre-ordering. So the hope was that we would find a way to make serving our subscription customers slightly more profitable than it was before. So we're about a year in, and you had been telling me about some stuff, and I started looking at some numbers today. And the end result is that neither of those things ended up happening. Basically, we are giving more money away in discounts, and when we aren't giving more money away in discounts, we are somehow giving away a larger percentage of our profits in discounts. So basically, like, there's months where we're doing better than we were in a similar year, or like a corresponding month in a different year.
Yeah.
Where we were comparing the discount program to the rewards program. The rewards program is giving away more money, but then in months where we're giving away less money in the rewards program than we were in a corresponding month for the discount program, it's because the sales are way down. So the overall percentage that we're taking away is not good. So basically, let's have a discussion about what the future of the reward program looks like. Because after a year, I think it's fair to say this is not achieving the goals that we wanted it to achieve.
Yeah.
And therefore, we're not necessarily beholden to keeping it going indefinitely if we know it's not working. My thought is this, and you'll let me know what you think. Basically, I would like to consider shifting the rewards program to being something that only people in the subscription program can participate in.
That is literally what I was thinking. That is the first thing I thought of when you started this topic.
We would give a sort of sunsetting date to people who are not in the subscription service to say, hey, here's what's happening with your points. You have 60 days, let's say, to use whatever points are left. You starting immediately, you are not going to be able to earn any more points, and you have 60 days to use the points that are left. Or you can join our subscription service and you keep your points, they keep rolling, et cetera, et cetera. Everything keeps moving. So that was what I was thinking of doing.
That sounds more than fair.
So here's the problem, and something that cost me a lot of mental energy and will to live during the afternoon today.
I did see a chat transcript email.
It is very, very difficult to get our current rewards platform, Joy, or virtually any rewards platform on Shopify, to do what we would want it to do. Basically, every single one of them is oriented towards getting all your people who go to your website to sign up for your rewards program so you can do all the things we spent a year trying to do and didn't work. So it's very difficult to create a situation where going to the website and doing an order doesn't automatically
get you points.
A, get you points, B, join the rewards program. So that's one thing. And the other thing is we would not want people who are coming to the store and buying stuff to automatically get rewards points and emails and stuff unless they were in the subscription service. So after spending the afternoon talking to Joy and basically finding out that A, nothing I wanted it to do was something it did, and B, all the hacks I thought of for getting it to do that would not work, I started investigating some other platforms. There's one I'm talking to called Bon, B-O-N. They are not currently open. So the main question I have for their service is, like, they have a thing where it's like, it costs X amount of dollars for 500 orders a month. And my question is, when they say 500 orders, do they mean in-store and online or just online? If it's just online, we're way under that, and that's fine. If it counts in-store, we're way over that, and their program becomes significantly more expensive. Oof. I mean, we're quadruple that basically in a month. So I have to find out from them which is which. If online orders are the only thing that count towards your orders for the month, then Bon is $4 less a month than Joy is, and it's a better platform all the way around. We can easily transfer all the points over. It's no big deal. If the in-store orders count towards the minimum, then Joy is Bon is 4 times as expensive as Joy is, but it's unlimited orders, and they do a whole bunch of other stuff that we could maybe find use in. So it's $75 a month basically would be the increase if we switch to Bon, and it's not and they're counting our in-store sales as an order. So I got to find out if that's true or not.
Okay.
And then basically it is me trying to figure out a hack to get it to basically be something that subscribers can use in-store and online, because we have a bunch of online subscribers that I don't want to have them be like, you can't, sorry. Or there's a version of this where, worst case scenario, it's like, online people are still taking part in the program and there's literally nothing I can do to stop them. But how many people is that? And I don't care a whole lot. I don't know.
Don't we have the option in Joy, and this is very labor intensive, but to go and turn people off of it?
So here's the problem with that, and this is one of the things I asked them. There's no bulk way to remove people from the program.
Right. It'd be individually.
We currently have, because of the way that literally every single transaction, online and in store, creates a Joy account, we have over 5,000 Joy accounts. You can display up to 100 on a page, and you also can't sort them in any sort of reasonable way. So it would, and also you have to go into each account, click a thing that says exclude from program, click another thing that says, yes, I'm excluding this person from the program, and then go back out for over 4,000 people. So while it's possible, boy, oh boy. And also, there's no way to stop Joy from automatically adding any single person who goes and does an order on either POS or the online storefront from becoming a Joy customer. So even if I did them all, every single day there'd be more. So that's not great.
So what if we, when we switch over, just lie and tell everybody that the program went away? Like, oh, the company went out of business. Sorry, we can't do it anymore. Obviously, we're not going to do that. That is a joke. If it was even a thing I'd ever even remotely consider, which it isn't, I wouldn't mention it on the podcast. Yeah. I just thought it would be funny to say, like, oh, it's not our fault it broke.
Oops.
So now in the future, when a business partner that we use does go out of business for whatever reason, no one's going to believe me.
No one will believe it. It's frustrating to have to do this. But again, we spent a year doing this, and the data is just the data. Like, anecdotally, I'm sure there's going to be people who are hurt by this or who are like, I was definitely coming in more because of the points program. But it's like, globally, it was not doing anything. Like, I can't keep running it indefinitely for the few people for whom it was advantageous.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry about that. But the end result is, again, it is making us less profitable, not more profitable, and that is a problem.
It's like the Galleria, the European mall over on Orleans and Superior, when they would sell full-size Tootsie Rolls, like the candy bar size.
Sure.
Whenever I was there, I would buy them. And I would buy a handful, not like, 20, but, 5 or 6 at a time to keep me in Tootsie Rolls for a while. Because that's my preferred, that's my favorite method.
Your format.
I mean, I'll eat the midgies, but,
anyway. The normal big bars.
They stopped selling them because not enough people bought them. I always bought them, but I didn't buy all of them.
Sure.
And I can't fault them for that decision.
No. Like, as with anything we do, any change we make, I would love it if we didn't have to do this because we were so flush with cash that it didn't matter. Obviously, that's not the case. So we have to start looking at things like what is making us more or less profitable. And the less profitable things are things that we have to consider not doing anymore. while trying to turn things into more profitable things. Like that's just basic business. Like I'm sorry it has to be that way. I'm sorry it has to be numbers and data driven like that sometimes, but it is inescapable.
So I'd never heard the term shrinkflation until this week. And it was in the context of how a lot of brands, a lot of products are reducing the volume that you get of the product while keeping the price the same.
Right.
For example, 12% less in your cereal box.
Sure. 2 pages less in your Spider-Man comic book.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd not heard it before, but it is a thing that is rampant.
Oh, yeah.
In every facet of, not retail's the wrong word, but goods.
Commerce.
Yeah.
Yes.
Along with all of the incredibly inflating prices for no extra value.
Yeah. Or your Amazon Prime that you get your Amazon Video with. Now you get ads with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, again, it sucks to take part in that. It sucks to be any sort of version of that where it's like, I'm sorry, you're getting like, but that's the thing. Like, while you might be paying more with us not having this program, you're not literally paying more. You're just not getting the discount you were getting. And that discount is, again, unsustainable. Unless, again, you want to join our subscription service, then it becomes something where it's a little bit easier for us to deal with, because there is a sense of like, there's a reward where we are getting something in exchange for that. And that thing we're getting in exchange is reliable income. Like, you are saying, I'm going to get these books every single month. So instead of getting points and like, maybe you come in, maybe you don't, maybe you get a reward and then we don't see you again for 6 months or whatever. Like, this is, you are saying, I'm going to be coming in on a regular basis and getting my comic books. And again, then it becomes something that we can deal with. And look, I'm not saying in a year we don't look at that and go, that's not working for us.
Sure.
Like, as a business, we do have to reevaluate things and make changes. And I'm sorry that we do. And look, if our sales double overnight, I will never reevaluate it ever again.
Yeah.
Great. If they go down $13,000 more in a corresponding month, more stuff's going to get reevaluated.
Have you heard what Wendy's is doing?
I heard they were going to, and then I heard they immediately were like, oh, no, we're not doing that because everyone's mad at us.
Oh, I didn't hear them walk it back, but that did, of
within
course,
24 hours.
That had a couple of comic stores do like, hey, why don't we try surge pricing?
Yes.
Like, I've always thought it always blew my mind a little bit. If you frequent a restaurant, and let's say you get a hamburger, and you get that hamburger at lunch, and it's $10.
Right.
And then you get that same hamburger at dinner, and it's $19.
Right.
And it's the same meal,
hamburger,
but it's dinner prices. Dinner costs more.
Right.
And that always blew my mind, but I was going to say I didn't never own a restaurant, but my dad owns 2 restaurants. I don't remember if that was a thing that they did. I guess it depends on if the menu is the exact same, or maybe you got more Brussels sprouts with your burger in the evening. I don't know.
Maybe.
But that is in an industry where we have, for the most part, a suggested retail price that is printed on the product.
Yep.
We don't deviate from that.
Right.
Unless it is an incentive cover.
Yes.
That we had to jump through a lot of hoops to get.
And
even though it still says $4.99 on the cover.
Marvel didn't charge any more for it.
Ridiculous.
It
is. I mean, it's an economic change that is, well, change is the wrong word because it happens all the time, but it's just so blatant and obvious, and the larger corporations just don't care.
No.
They don't care if you shine a light on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's frustrating for us to be talking about something where it's like, holy shit, like, we're losing so much money and we have to find ways to increase profitability, or this is not sustainable in a way that it was already not sustainable, but it's becoming super not sustainable. While we're talking about companies who are basically just like, they were profitable and then they did this to make everything worse for everybody else and became more profitable. And it's like, that is horrible. That is, if I were as profitable as they were before this, I would never make a single change to my business. But they keep finding ways to wring even more pennies out of people. And it's like, I just want to not be losing money every month.
And while
That's all I want.
it's not an apples to apples comparison,
Uh-huh.
I do feel, and maybe this is selfish of me, maybe this is just me looking at my business through a different lens,
Maybe.
but I do feel that if you are a Challenger's customer, you are not just getting a product, you're getting a service.
Okay.
And I do feel that oftentimes we go out of our way to make it an experience for people.
Okay.
I mean, not like, go to their house for a birthday party and
No.
juggling or whatever.
No.
But I think you get more from shopping with us than you do shopping at Target.
Okay.
What do you say, okay, makes you think that you don't agree with that?
You and I always have different visions of what we think people are getting out of shopping at Challengers. So I don't know that I would ever phrase it that way, but yeah, okay, sure.
If they don't get anything extra, you have to wonder why they choose us then.
Yeah, I do a lot. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, there's my. I did it. I did the okay that time. The press junket for Dune 2.
Mm-hmm.
One of the teams,
Mm-hmm.
Zendaya and Florence Pugh.
Yeah, I was on YouTube for a minute today, and they had a Vogue thing where it was Timothée Chalamet, Zendaya, and Florence Pugh, and they were supposed to be like asking each other rapid fire questions that were prepared by Vogue.
Yeah.
But after about like 2 minutes of it, I'm like, I hate this, because the rapid fire questions are things like, Timothy, like Zendaya's asking this, what's a fun fact about you that I don't know? And it's all stuff where they're like, I don't know. Like, they're all questions that immediately put them on the spot, and they don't have a prepared answer for, and they're just bad. Like, it's just a terrible interview. It's questions that an interviewer would never ever ask, because it just invites someone to go completely blank.
Yeah.
And so I thought, these are fun people, but this sucks. This is not them at their most charming.
Zendaya was telling the story of how the first time she was trying to land the helipod she was flying,
Okay.
that how, since it's a device that doesn't exist and can't work in the real world,
Mm-hmm.
it's got all these buttons and levers and things, and obviously they're all fake.
Mm-hmm. Ornithopter, by the way.
It's ornithopter, thank you.
You're welcome.
She got it right, I didn't.
I know.
The helicopter thing. So, and when she started telling the story, Florence just laughed. She's like, I love this part.
Mm-hmm.
With that cough laugh she does.
Yeah.
And she's like, so what do we do? And they said, just do sci-fi shit.
Yeah. Who cares? Like,
So-
no one's ever going to look at this and go, well, that button doesn't do that.
Well, so she's like just doing stuff going on, and then Florence is going, pew, 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 pew. Sci-fi shit. Adorable.
Mm-hmm.
It's now time to thank our Patreon supporters, including our annual patrons, Usi Arun Singh, Becca Hilburn and Joseph Coco, Bren Helt, Dal's mom Diane Bush, President of the Brian Garside Fan Club, Django Borin, Philip Sablik from Boom Studios, Jose Villagomez, Josh Crowley of Westfield Comics, our bestest wrestling watching pal, Michael Lee, Michael Romanenko, our patrons who have created their own tier, Andrew Drew Troy Aaliyah, Bridget K. Neville, Chris Burton, Claudine Neville, our other generous patrons from the Say My Name pledge level, Ben-Hur Benedict Calaguas,
Brad Brooks from Dumb Shit Done Well.
Manage Comics Own, Brian Garside, Christopher Haith, Drew Triner and Ashley Edwards, Fallon Mackerline, my brother George Brower, Heidi D., Holly Aitchison, Jacob Sorelli of Kamikaze, Josh Trigg, Mark Hammond of Aw Yeah Comics, Margie, Keith, Logan, and Malcolm Springham, Matt Armstrong, Mitchell Davies of All-Star Comics in Melbourne, Australia, Morgan Dynamite Perry, my longtime pal Robert Burns, Ron Payne, Sean Bowers, Tad Eggleston and Johnny Williams, Thomas Nagovin of Century Guild, Walt Grogan, Walt's Comic Shop from Berlin, Germany. And if you want to hear your name thanked on this very podcast once a month, head over to patreon.com/challengers and pledge at the $5 Say My Name level. And a big thank you to all our other patrons at the various other pledge levels. Back in the year 2022,
That was a good year.
I know people need to cast their mind back a little bit.
Mhm.
I personally ordered.
The year was 2022. Disney Plus television shows were terrible.
But the subscription cost you so much less.
Uh-huh.
And you didn't get ads.
Actually, that might have been an Andor year. Maybe that was a good year.
I ordered myself some WrestleMan action figures.
Mm-hmm.
Also, that is not a real property. I feel like I should trademark that.
WrestleMan?
WrestleMan?
I'm
Actually,
sure somebody
WrestleMans.
has it.
WrestleMans.
WrestleMans. Wrestle Boys.
I ordered some WrestleMan figures myself. Not specifically, not branded MLW, Major League Wrestling, but Major League Wrestling competitors. Like an Alex Hammerstone.
Okay.
Like a Jacob Fatu.
Okay.
Because I get wrestling figures.
Okay.
And
Because was getting to my next question, which is why? Why Alex Hammerstone and Jacob Fatu?
we've seen Alex Hammerstone at AA Dubs.
Yeah.
And Jacob Fatu is supposed to be great. I've never
Also,
actually been live.
Yeah, Alex Hammerstone was not anyone's favorite dub.
I believe he's now in TNA. So I ordered the first series, and I mistakenly ordered a package of wrestling title belts.
Mm-hmm.
Well, those never came out.
Oh, no.
This Wednesday, on the invoice from Diamond that tells us what's coming out next week, there was a section at the top that said, these items are eligible for order reduction due to lateness. And it was 3 of those figures. Not all of them,
Okay.
but 3 of them.
Sure.
The Diamond invoices go up on their website at 4 a.m. Wednesdays. I emailed a Diamond rep at about noon. So 8 hours later, right?
Sure.
And I said, hey, we would like to reduce the ordered quantity to all these items to 0. I got an email back, and we don't have a direct rep anymore.
Nope.
So I open a ticket, they email back.
Sure.
They emailed back and said, we closed the window on these orders last week with the supplier and placed a new order based on existing orders, meaning you're too late. You can cancel this order, but you're subject to a 10% restocking fee.
Okay.
Do you still want to cancel this order?
Yeah. Would you rather pay them 10% of the cost to not get them or get them knowing you don't want them?
So I said, and I was as polite as possible, which you cannot tell tone in an email.
No.
So I said, hey, I'm a little confused by the timing of this because on this week's invoice, and I cut and paste the first.
Here's the line.
Yeah. Oh no, I cut and paste the full top of that invoice, so it showed the invoice because they're never dated. These invoices are never dated,
Of course.
but it had the invoice number, our number, and the section above it, which was blank, and the section that said, these are available for order reduction. I said, this was on this Wednesday's invoice, and I immediately emailed you
The
when
only
our day
reason
started.
I'm bringing this up is because you told me on the invoice that as of now I can reduce these. I didn't just, have it pop into my head like, oh, I should try and cancel these things I ordered a couple years ago. It was you told me today that I can cancel them.
And I said, begrudgingly, I will pay your fee, but I don't think it's fair. And I wasn't rude. I wasn't mean.
You didn't ask to speak to a manager?
Right. And I even said, like, fine, I'll pay your fee. I don't think I should have to, but if that's the way this works, fine. They got back to me today saying it should have been in a previous invoice, or should have been on a previous invoice.
Yes.
We will waive the cancellation fee.
That was nice of them.
And then I reordered double.
Ooh. Got to get that Jacob Fatu. I hear he's good.
That's right.
People say he's good.
So it was just such a ridiculous scenario of like, hey, it's like if I hold, and I'm making this analogy up on my hand.
Okay.
If I hold my hand out to you with a candy bar in it, it's a Twix bar.
Right.
Like, hey, Dal, you want this Twix bar?
And I do want that Twix bar.
and you're going to grab it.
I don't.
And I take it away and say, "Oh, you should have told me that last week."
Oh, I
Sorry.
didn't know you would have a
can't-
Twix bar
you can't
though.
Have this one. Well, I didn't offer it to you then, but you should have told me last week.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel like that's how ordering is in our industry.
What do you mean?
You needed to tell me about the thing that you didn't know existed
Pretty much.
before we place our orders. I think we're up to 3 special orders for the Marvel, DC versus Marvel omnibuses.
Okay. Yeah, and the email for subscribers goes out for as we're recording this tomorrow, but everyone should have gotten it by the time they listen to this, which has the links in there for the main covers to both the DC versus Marvel and Amalgam Age Omnibuy.
Do you think there's a good number of books to highlight in a weekly FOC email, or do you think it's dependent on the week?
Definitely dependent on the week, because certain weeks, depending on holidays, can be twice as large.
Yeah, that's fair.
So you don't want to say you're skipping, half the books you normally do because there's twice as many weeks. But in general, I would probably not highlight more than like a dozen items.
Okay.
I think, but that's me being semi-pessimistic about A, what's coming out in the market, and B, what people care about. I think less is more in a lot of ways when we try to approach our customers. I definitely think back to the times that we would do subscriber emails that were literally every new number one, tons of new graphic novels. It would be dozens and dozens of items. And we probably get people subscribing more now when we have less in the emails, because a lot of that stuff, like we were talking about an upcoming Sidekicks graphic novel, an all ages graphic novel, by a major creator who has a perennial book that we've stocked, and you were looking to highlight it, and I just thought, why bother? Like, no one pre-orders that stuff from us. Like, it'll sell great. We'll probably sell it for another, 5-6 years, but pre-order numbers are going to be nothing. There's going to be like 1 or 2.
Yeah, I talk about this every once in a while, but I lament the fact that we don't have the same type of immediate interest in the Sidekicks books as we do for single issue comics in the regular store.
Sidekicks and manga kill me because we cannot seem to get any pre-order traction on any of that stuff. And again, this was the year that, like, every time I sell a manga book, I'm slipping a Managed Comics bookmark, not the other two, but specifically Managed Comics.
Yep.
So that, like, hey, but I think from now on, I'm going to have to get more, like, as people are checking out, tell them, like, hey, I'm putting a bookmark in here. We do pre-orders for all of these books. Like, if you want to reserve something that's coming out, if you want to see something new, go to our website. You can pre-order it with no money down. You pay for it when it comes in. Like, it is no risk to you. Like, you do not have to pay in advance. Hopefully that'll get people doing it. I don't know. Like, but it is super duper weird how much of our business is Sidekicks and manga, and yet we cannot seem to get anybody to pre-order any of that stuff, which makes ordering it so difficult.
And that's
manga
one of the
specifically.
That's one of the points I want to bring up. It's not just that we want people to pre-order, so it's like, oh, you have to buy it from us, but it's so we can gauge what people are interested in and see what we're missing.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to make it a point to go a little heavier on the Square Enix stuff now that Morgan is behind it, because she's doing a good job of going out of her way to really highlight new series, new volumes, and telling you what they're about. Nothing you ever see because it's all social media stuff.
Yep.
But, it's the kind of thing, it's how we want our customers to pay attention to the things that we are talking about.
Sure.
That I am doing the same for.
Yeah, we were talking to another retailer earlier this week, Jermaine Exum, from Acme Comics in
Lord
North Carolina.
Retail?
Had stopped by, was in town after Comics Pro. And we were talking about manga, and I mentioned that, like, basically, like, because we don't get any pre-order numbers for manga, and we don't really get a lot of feedback from the people who come in and get manga, they know what they want. They don't ask a lot of questions. We might occasionally get people asking for a series we don't stock, at which point we do start stocking it. But in general, like, it's very hard to determine what that audience wants. So when I'm doing FOCs and stuff at Diamond or at Penguin Random House, I definitely lean on, like, first volumes for sure. If it seems like something that we've done well with, a genre that we've done well with, or something that I've even vaguely heard of before. And then, once we get the first volume in, if it starts to turn, maybe we get a few more. But like late runs and a lot of other stuff, I just don't do. Because again, there doesn't seem like there's that sort of regular, consistent traffic for a lot of series. People just come in and they get a stack of Jujutsu Kaisen, or they get a stack of Vinland Saga, or they get a stack of Junji Ito, or they get a stack of Demon Slayer, or sometimes they get a couple weird volume 1s, and then they never come back for volume 2. So hopefully, if we can find some goddamn way to get some of those manga people to start pre-ordering upcoming volumes, we would start stocking more series in greater depth, because we would know that there was an audience that's going to come back for them.
We had a gentleman in today looking for some manga stuff, and he was a little bit of an older gentleman, and he had he was going to say he had an issue. He didn't have an issue. Nothing he voiced, but every time what he wanted was on a bottom shelf, he just went, "Oh,
I'm sorry."
And I mean, that's how I act when I have to file things in the bottom.
But manga kids love it.
But
they just sit there on the ground and they browse and read.
Go to the bottom shelf.
Sorry.
And it was just like, brother, I feel you. But he was looking for.
He should switch all of his stuff to volumes of Pluto. Those are on the first or second shelf.
He was looking for Made in Abyss.
Sorry, don't have Made in Abyss.
And
I guess I could start getting some.
Well, it's funny because volume. He asked for 2 titles: Made in Abyss and Heavenly
Delusion.
Yeah.
Okay, we've had Heavenly Delusion before, but that's Denpa, and we have a tough time getting Denpa stuff back in.
So I looked it up for him. He needed 3, 4. What did he need? He needed anyway. We have 2 and 5. He needed everything but those. So I look it up, and the only thing available right now is 2.
Yep. I would almost guarantee you we have 1, 3, and 4 on back order with somebody, and we're just waiting for him.
And I told him, he's like, you never have 1. You didn't have 1 and 5 last time. Like, that's because we can't get 1 and 5.
Denpa.
And I honestly, we don't like. If you were to buy all of this right now, we could only restock number 2.
Yeah.
But the funniest part was when he was asking for Made in Abyss. He's like, I need Made in Abyss. I'm looking for 65, 66. I go, they're on 11. Oh, you're talking about the collected volumes.
Yeah, he's thinking of the chapters that he's reading on scanlation sites.
Yes, I don't know. Like, all we have are collected volumes. What they don't do, it doesn't exist in a physical form. You can't go buy a pamphlet of 65. I just felt bad from having to bend down all the time.
It's unfortunate, but again, the manga kids love it.
But
they love it,
and
they love it so low to the ground.
Sure, he wound up not buying anything.
Sorry.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, I should maybe stock some Made in Abyss stuff. I don't know.
There was that one guy who was buying them 1 at a time and regularly, and I haven't seen that dude in like a year.
Yep, that's what happens.
You remember him though, right?
I do, yeah, because I'd never heard of the series. Well, I'd never heard of the series, so when he was saying it to me, I thought he was saying maiden, like a maiden.
Because it's a manga.
Abyss, and I'm looking under maiden. I'm like, I don't see it, man.
You think that more prevalent than made in,
right?
For a manga book,
because like a lot of manga titles, Made in Abyss, like grammatically is incorrect. Like, what? Do you mean made in an abyss? Like, what?
Or is it like a maid in Abyss? Like she's like remember the TNA wrestler Abyss?
Oh, okay, sure.
Like Jonah in the Whale, Made in Abyss.
Yeah, I didn't think to look into that either. Yeah, there's been a few series like that where people have I hadn't heard of them before, and so they tried to say it, but I was not understanding what words
I couldn't
they
get
were
the other series.
at all.
I couldn't. It took me a while to understand what he meant when he said Heavenly
Delusion.
Because I couldn't tell if he was saying Heaven Delusion, Heaven Delusional, Heavenly Delusional. There were too many, and then looking it up, it's like I have to do each iteration.
What is Elite Illusion?
It's the same way when somebody calls and says, do you have the many deaths of Lala Star? They just said Lala Star. Fine. But I'm like, yeah, I'm sure we do. Do we keep this in drama or sci-fi?
Sci-fi, nice.
Do we keep it under M
for
or L? Luckily, they're both right next to each other. And it was at such a point we had I had a problem trying to send a subscriber an invoice today.
No, I'm sorry.
Click send, and the screen immediately goes back to the previous screen. I'm like, that's not what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to cycle and say it's done. And then while it's on the screen of all the names, it came up at the bottom like, oh, it's done. Great, go check. No. Pull up the order, still there. Like, all right, let me try to send it from the other side. Couldn't do that.
Okay.
So doing that, trying to get through the ghost order as well. I just had Gina stand on the counter because she was replacing our
business license?
Not license, registration.
Okay. Tax ID?
Technically business registration.
Okay.
But and then the phone rings, and I'm like, I have to abandon her on the counter because I want to hold the chair when she comes down because it spins. And yeah, it was a frustrating time. So I wound up just having to email Managed Comics and say, I cannot get this person's order to go through.
Yeah.
And they said they'll check on it tonight. And is it okay to send it if it does? I'm like, yeah, please do.
Great.
So we will see if that goes through. And it's the same person. It's always this one person who, and they only ever have they had 7 books.
Right.
But there's a problem sending their invoice every single time.
It's weird.
I don't know why.
Oh, yeah.
But normally I'd give them the, hey, check the website.
Right.
I'm like, too many things in my head right now to try to give you that speech. But they came in and bought one, and I'm like, we have both, softcover, hardcover, take your pick.
It's great.
And then the best part was when they came in, Gina couldn't find it either. She's like, oh, I'm like, it's there. She goes, does the Sisman think we have it? I'm like, no, it's there. I literally just saw it on the shelf.
Yeah. Many Deaths of Layla Starr would go under M for Many Deaths because it's the whole title. If there were subsequent Layla Starr books, they would probably all go under L for Layla Starr. Like Luther Strode was the same way, where it was Strange Town of Luther Strode, and then, but once it was other something of Luther Strode's Legend of Luther Strode, then it's like everything should just go under L for Luther Strode.
Yeah, the same way we keep Action Comics under S for Superman. Here's one. Somebody asked for a younger reader Spider-Man book, Miguel O'Hara. I
can't remember if they did a Marvelverse 2099. I don't think they did.
They did not, because I thought that too and went and checked.
Yeah, I don't know if there is one. I mean, we don't really have much in the way of 2099 Spider-Man collections right now. I mean, I would probably say the original, like, Peter David Compendium, because it's not younger reader inappropriate. But yeah, I don't think they've done.
The only thing we had recently was Spider-Man 2099 Exodus, the most recent miniseries, but I sold it last week.
Yeah, that would be the only thing I would think we would have in the store currently.
But we did have that scratch the itch for them, a Miguel O'Hara pop vinyl.
Great, glow in the dark.
Yep. I'm like, all right, it's something.
Yeah.
Just I'd rather it be a comic.
Sure.
But not the newer white costume version. And I did try to get him to come back for the upcoming Symbiote Spider-Man 2099.
Neat.
Symbiotes are everywhere now. Venom War. Venom War is coming this fall.
You told me about Venom War.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Father versus son. Who will be the one Venom to rule them all?
What if the symbiotes were also vampires?
Speaking of major summer crossovers, we mentioned Absolute Power last week from DC.
We did.
The Mark Waid and Dan Mora supervillain team-up between Amanda Waller, Failsafe Batman, and the new Brainiac.
Brainiac Queen.
Brainiac Queen, thank you. And it was written by Mark Waid and drawn by Dan Mora. Well, they've announced a little bit more.
Mora.
There will be a total of 4 other miniseries.
Okay.
So a total of 5-issue miniseries.
Okay.
That are all about Absolute Power. Here's the catch. They're all written by Mark Waid.
Okay. That sounds good.
Yeah, so that goes from...
I assume one of them is like Absolute Power Batman, Absolute Power Superman, Absolute Power The Flash, Absolute Power Wonder Woman, whatever.
I'm surprised the Sovereign isn't one of them.
Maybe.
But it like in my head, to me personally, that went from I don't read tie-ins
sure.
to, I'm reading all 25 issues of this.
Yeah, I feel like I probably would as well. Hopefully it's a thing that came about because Mark Waid's real good at this, and it's probably easier for him to just write them all himself than try and get 5 other writers to understand what he's trying to do. And it probably spares people like Chip Zdarsky and Josh Williamson from having to like try and fit that into what they're doing.
Yeah. Even though I mean, what they're doing is headed toward the same conclusion.
Yes.
I wonder if it'll cross over as much. Marvel did release a full Blood Hunt checklist that shows all the miniseries and all the one-shots.
Yep.
And all the tie-ins.
Mm-hmm.
It's tying through everything Jed MacKay writes, of course.
Of course. You'd expect it.
Yeah. The one that's the most mind-boggling, though, is the Amazing Spider-Man Blood Hunt miniseries and the crossover issues of Amazing Spider-Man.
Great.
What?
I'm going to tell people the same thing that I think we mentioned on the podcast when Absolute Carnage was coming out. If you want any of these tie-ins, I highly recommend that you pre-order them because we are not going to be stocking a lot of them for the shelf.
Oh, yeah. That is our crossover rule.
The shelf life on these is even shorter than the average comic book single issue or miniseries. Basically, is once this event is over, these things are garbage. So please, 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 if you have any interest in reading these, pre-order them.
Speaking of pre-orders, thank you for that.
You're welcome,
Lane.
Patrick.
That segue, that's good. We often talk about people wanting to change a cover per issue of a title.
You mean
like,
subscribe to a different cover for a single issue? Like they're subscribed to Batman, but they want the Batman cover B for issue 146.
Yeah, exactly.
Instead of the A cover that they were normally
Exactly that.
subscribed to.
Now, there's no easy way to do this in the system. If you subscribe to a book, but you want to change the cover as a pre-order, but you have a regular subscription. It doesn't cancel the other one out. So at any given point, if you order a B cover, you're also going to be getting the A cover because you have a subscription.
Correct.
If you are someone who wants to choose their cover every month, which is A-okay with us, man, do that.
We've got several subscribers that do that.
But don't subscribe, pre-order.
Yes.
But that the due diligence is on you to go in every month and to look at the cover and decide what you want on a monthly basis.
Or more like a weekly basis, because a lot of covers don't get shown until closer to FOC.
Yeah, fair.
Currently, there is a Jim Lee variant for the DC versus Marvel Omnibus. Jim Lee was announced as the artist today. No cover. So if you do want to order that cover, you need to wait a little bit to see what it looks like, or order it blind, I guess.
Did you look at New to Order today?
I did, yes. No images for anything.
No images for anything. And you know my rule. Not going to order it if I can't see it.
I think it makes perfect sense.
There are some things I'm like, I wonder what that is. Oh.
Maybe we'll find out next week.
Oh, well. I'm not going backwards to look. Although part of me wondered if they'd be up like later today or...
I checked later in the day because I checked this morning and saw that, and then checked later in the day and they were more items and none of them had images.
Great. You also can't add during the day.
They do all the time.
They do, but it should be on the next days.
You would think.
So we frequently have subscribers at Challengers who pre-order a cover, and then when the issue comes in, and they also have the subscription issue in, they claim ignorance and said, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. I just wanted this one cover.
Yeah, I thought I was switching it.
Yeah. And for the longest time, we're like, yeah, there's got to be a better way around this. But we have learned and verified when you do that, you get a pop-up on your window that says...
If you are subscribed to Batman Cover A and you go into Batman 146, an upcoming issue, I think it's 146, and you click, I want to order the B cover, Patrick, what happens?
You get a pop-up that says, you are already down for a subscription to this book. Adding this variant cover will get you a second copy. I mean, I'm not looking at it verbatim.
Mm-hmm.
Do you wish to continue? Yes or no? So you have to click a button to go forward.
Yes, that you are agreeing that you understand that there is an additional copy happening, not a substitution happening.
So the number of people that would be like, oh, I didn't realize I was doing this, it tells you.
Yeah,
it's like the people that don't order a bag and board in shipping a single comic from us. When there's a pop-up that did you want to, you have to say no to move on. Man, it made it a little more frustrating.
Yes.
it seems that speaking of frustrating, and I wasn't even going to bother you to link, that all the data issues, the Comet standard moving forward, the group of dedicated comic industry professionals that are trying to establish a very specific pattern for data for every publisher to use.
Yes.
And hope is that it gets implemented end of this year, early next year. But I mean, that's
it is. I mean, that's how long things take. I get it.
No, that's faster than we were initially told.
But I mean, this has been something that's been in the works for months and months, and we're just at a point where a white paper was issued. It's like, oh my god, this all takes so long, and it is such an irritation on a weekly basis to know that it's like you're gonna have to suck it up for another like 6 or 7 months minimum.
What was I think I'm getting this quote wrong, but bureaucracy turns at a glacial pace.
Sure.
Something like that.
It's just real bad. Nice that it's getting resolved, but horrifying that it is a thing that you can watch not get improved on a weekly basis.
Several weeks ago, I posed a challenge to you to do something a little special.
Okay.
And you did. You made a recording.
I did.
And you may have realized you haven't heard anything from me about it.
Yeah, but I also don't care.
Sure. But other people who listen to this podcast probably do.
Uh-huh.
And it was a segment that I was calling Dal Reads You to Sleep. And after a little bit of reminding, you picked your book.
Yes.
And you read it.
I did.
And I recorded a small intro for it. And right before I posted it, I thought, can we do this? Are we allowed to do this?
I tried to pick something that I didn't think would be like brand new, that people would be like,
right,
you're ruining this.
Well, I'm not worried about that because people can just, once they listen, they can immediately hear what you're doing and be like, all right, I'm not going to listen.
But I was worried about that part too.
Well, I was worried about one of our publishing partners being like, hey, you are giving this away. You are taking our content.
I hear you, and I can definitely see that being a problem for people, but my quick response would be, do you seriously think me reading it out is giving the full experience of what's happening in this book?
But I mean, it's not what they think.
I get it.
It's what the people that own the license thinks about it.
Sure.
So I sought permission.
Mm-hmm.
Granted.
Great.
Yeah. So it'll, I don't want to do it now because it's too close to a regular episode.
Okay.
But it'll come out. They had suggested one minor change, also at the same time acknowledging how ridiculous the ask for the change sounds.
Sure.
But just so it can't be interpreted as a specific way.
Of course. That makes sense.
Yeah. I was very happy with the care that went into the response.
Well, I'm glad that my minutes and minutes of hard work didn't go to waste.
I mean, it was at least 12 minutes.
Sure.
I think I put more time into editing it.
I would almost guarantee you did.
And then all the time I put into my introduction. Do you know how many yawns I had to record to get one that sounded real?
It's weird.
Because a real yawn, there's no sound to that.
There's a pop of my jaw.
What you just did doesn't translate.
Pop of my jaw has
audio.
been there for decades.
So I was recording actual yawns and they were all garbage. I had to fake my yawn, Dal.
I'm sorry.
You know how much that hurts me as somebody who
yawns
just
so often. Oh my god.
But is proud of their yawn?
Sure. And the ability to fall asleep at anywhere at any time.
I was asleep twice during this recording.
Yeah. Any movie, any TV show.
Oh yeah. I used to make fun of a friend of mine who would fall asleep at concerts while we were standing.
Yeah.
And he could fall asleep while locking his knees so he didn't fall.
Sure.
I can do that now.
That's great.
No,
it's
why
all
are you
you
at a
ever
concert?
wanted.
Why are you at a concert if you're going to fall asleep?
All you ever wanted.
But yeah, I can literally fall asleep while standing up.
That's great.
That's just where I am now.
It's a useful skill for Wednesdays now.
I'm the guy that complains about books being on the bottom shelf.
That's what you have Gina and Lizzie and Andrew and Sam for.
Gina, after she got down when I was looking for that Lala Star book, and I came back, I'm like, oh my God, how'd you get down? Did you get hurt? Do you need me to call an ambulance? But she said, I will always climb on the counter for you.
Aww.
And I said, and I will always ask you to.
Mm-hmm.
Because I will, because I'm not doing it.
Sure. I still have to do it.
Yeah.
I'll have to do it in a couple weeks on a Sunday.
Yeah, definitely will.
Yeah.
Also, Andrew does it as well.
I figured.
When the young flexible people.
Exactly.
Or you.
The old flexible people, I think.
You, the people that barely needs a ladder.
It's true.
Can you reach those clocks without...
No. I will need to get the ladder to change all of the clocks, except for the one behind the counter, where I will stand on the counter.
I just changed 2 of the batteries. Oh, you were there that day.
Yes, thanks.
Dal, did you read any
Patrick.
new comical books that are FOCing?
You know, I tell you what, right before this recording, I decided to sit down and read Feral #1 from Image Comics.
Oh, you know what I read right before this recording?
What's that, Patrick?
Feral #1 and #2.
I didn't read #2 because I read #1, and that was really all I need to read to tell people that they should pre-order Feral #1 because it's very, very good.
Feral #1 by written by Tony Fleeks and drawn by Trish Forster.
Mm-hmm. Same team that did Stray Dogs.
Yep.
Stray
this
Dogs.
time it's not Stray Dogs, it's Kept Cats.
Yeah, Stray Dogs was basically, it was a slasher murder mystery, but with dogs, which was very cool and very fun to read, and for some dog owners, very traumatic to read. Feral is a zombie movie, but it's cats trying to escape rabid forest animals. That's the premise. That's all. The homage covers are very like zombie movie oriented.
Did you mention like domesticated house cats?
It's domesticated house cats, but
Okay.
like cats. I mean,
Cats that are like not
there's
wild
not a lot of like
cats.
forest cats, so it's just
Sure.
yeah.
There are in Japan.
That's true. This is in America, though. These are American cats, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's exactly the same type of basic horror tropes that Stray Dogs was really good at, but also doing it all from an animal's perspective, and keeping that aspect of it very front and center of the story. So yeah, I really enjoyed Feral #1, and if you read Stray Dogs, this is as good as Stray Dogs, just a slightly different genre of horror story.
Well, that was easy. I agree with everything you said.
Yeah, Feral seemed like it was going to be a home run. Like when they announced, hey, it's the same team, it's cats instead of dogs, it's a zombie movie instead of a serial killer story. It seems like they know what they're doing. It seems like they know what they can execute well, and there's no reason to think that it wasn't going to be good. And reading issue 1 was a very quick, easy read to go, yep, this is good.
There is one significant difference between the 2 properties, though. Feral's ongoing.
Is it really? I don't
Yeah.
think I realized that.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll do 190-something issues like Walking Dead.
And I got to say that Tony's been going out of his way with the marketing to shops
Sure.
about this. Not only was he just at Comics Pro in Pittsburgh hawking the book and his upcoming other book from Boom, but he sent us full color flyers, poster, cell sheets, little cell sheets, trading cards.
I mean, he was very good with the promotion for both Stray Dogs and
Local Man
with Tim Seeley. Very helpful with that. So again, somebody who knows what they're doing, somebody who clearly knows how important it is to help promote the book and reach out to retailers. So it's obviously somebody that we want to support. We want to help make their book a success. And obviously also for us, because I want good books to sell and I want books that are going to get people excited and coming back, and certainly ongoing series that is a big thing that retailers are asking for more of in 2024. It's something we talked about a lot, how hard it is to have to constantly re-engage customers with new miniseries and stuff, and how nice it is to have something that is good and successful and continues to come out every single month.
And I want to reiterate what a good guy Tony is, because when Stray Dogs was first announced, we were not very kind to it. The concept of it,
the pitch for sure
on the podcast.
Oh yeah, I mean, because you see it and you're like, oh my god, it's like
Don Bluth.
Like you're just ripping off Don Bluth and do it like it didn't seem to have an identity beyond. And honestly, I felt the same way about Beneath the Trees when I'd seen the ads and stuff. I'm like, Jesus, it's just like
Richard Scarry.
Richard Scarry is not even a thing for me. So it's just
Okay.
like, this is just like Teddy Bear Picnic, and like they kill each other. Like that's it. That's what you're
I don't know
doing.
what Teddy Bear Picnic is.
It's like teddy bears. They have a picnic.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought it was a property.
I don't know. Maybe.
Oh, okay.
And then like,
I have WrestleMan, so you have Teddy Bear Picnic?
yeah, Teddy Bear Picnic Dexter. Like, all right, whatever. But then you read the book and you're like, oh my God, yes, it's that at the most basic dismissive level.
Yeah.
But the execution is so much better than that it doesn't matter. Like it becomes its own thing beyond that. So like Don Bluth, dogs and cats in like or dogs, I guess, in a house that they have to escape from because there's a serial killer is like, it was so much better than that because the creative team made it so much more engaging and so much more appealing. So like, I wouldn't say we were wrong, but like we learned that we were underestimating what they were doing.
Right. But also my point about him being such a stand-up guy is after we talked about it on the podcast, this is at the same time rats were eating my engine. Remember?
Yes.
Multiple times.
Uh-huh.
Tony sent me a care package of mothballs to put in and around the garage and the engine and everything with a note saying that he has integrity, he swears.
Sure.
And it was such like so far above and beyond, like just the fact that he even heard what we said.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
number one, but number two, to be like, hey, here's the thing.
That's a real pro thing to be able to say, to take what we were saying and go, look, they're responding to the marketing, not the book, because they haven't read the book.
Yeah.
I can fix this. Like, not to say the marketing was good or bad, but if we were interpreting it a certain way, he could reach out and go like, hey, here's what the book really is. Here's what's going on. Here's who I am. Here's who the team is. And that helps sometimes to kind of, to get a better sense of it beyond what's on a 1 or 2 page previews call out.
Yep.
Which again, sometimes can be oriented in a way where it's just not great. Like sometimes the something meets something is like, oh, I would never order that. And then it's like, well, once you read the book, you're like, I wouldn't have described it with X meets Y because X is sort of not really what it is, and Y is what everything is. So this is unhelpful, you know?
And as far as Local Man goes, he and Tim Seeley both write that book, but he draws it. He draws the main chapter every month, every issue.
Yeah.
And Tim draws the backups.
Oh.
And the marketing for that was great. And that book is great. It's one of my favorite comics is Local Man.
Yeah, it does well for us.
So this Tony Flicks guy is kind of hitting them all out of the park.
Yeah, again, certainly someone that we're more inclined to check out and see what he's doing. Not necessarily like anybody is going to get an all-time free pass, but yeah, I made sure I read Feral #1, and it was really good. And not like people need a lot of convincing after Stray Dogs was a gigantic hit, but just a reminder that Stray Dogs was a gigantic hit, and Feral's really good, and I think it FOCs this weekend. I think it does.
Oh, that's too bad, because this will come out for most people after that fact.
Image Books FOC on Monday.
That's true.
And look, we're going to order a bunch. As we sometimes rave about certain comics and it's after FOC or it's around FOC. If you're a subscriber and you reach out to us and you say, hey, Feral it sounds really good. Please let me get issue 1. We will sign you up for it. The stuff that we have problems doing after FOC are like, oh, I want this one variant cover. And it's like, well, that was the thing you needed to tell us beforehand. But I'm excited about an upcoming series because you guys talked about it. Is probably a thing we're going to bend the rules on and find a way to get you that first issue.
We'll do it. Also, I was about to end there, but I realized I plan on dusting off the Or Your Money Back this week for Batman Dylan Dog.
Okay. Wow. Maybe I'll buy one then.
Ooh.
I won't.
Well, technically, you're buying all of them.
It's true.
You're buying half of all of
I'm
them.
only not buying one because I want to make sure that all the excited readers get a chance to check it out.
That's right. I had 2 other people today to say, that sounds so great, but I don't know if I was supposed to sign them up for it or...
Maybe they were just saying that.
Maybe. Thanks for listening.
Keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 Northwestern Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. Keep up to date with new releases and events at challengerscomics.com. and help fund this podcast at patreon.com/challengers.